Stop everything you are doing right now and look at your screen. If you are watching this, you are witnessing the beginning of the end of the world as we have known it for the last 70 years. Within the last few minutes, reports have been flooding through encrypted channels the mainstream media is currently being blocked from accessing by the Department of Defense. The title of this report is not a drill. It is not an exaggeration. 15 Israeli military bases, the backbone of the IDF's power, have been effectively vaporized, not damaged, not hit, vaporized by a technology that the Pentagon told you was years away from being operational. Iran has just unleashed its new generation of hypersonic missiles, and the Iron Dome you've been told is invincible. It didn't even wake up. You need to see this right now because while the talking heads on the news are discussing domestic politics and celebrity scandals, the strategic balance of the entire planet has just shifted permanently. As a former Marine intelligence officer, I have spent decades analyzing theater-level conflicts. I have seen the classified projections. I have seen what happens when a superpower realizes too late that it is no longer the biggest dog in the fight. Stay with me, because what I am about to disclose to you is information the Biden administration is desperately trying to suppress before the markets open. I am going to show you exactly how these 15 bases were targeted, why our $200 billion defense systems failed, and what this means for your family's safety tonight. If you click away now, you are choosing to remain in a bubble of mainstream lies while the fires are already burning. Keep watching because by the end of this, you will understand the truth that they are too terrified to tell you. Now, to understand how 15 bases can be wiped off the map in a single afternoon, we have to look at the history the media has been scrubbing. For years, we've been told that Iran was a third-tier military power. We were told their Fatah missiles were mere mock-ups made of fiberglass. Having spent years as a weapons inspector, I can tell you that was the most dangerous intelligence failure since Vietnam. The context here is a secret development cycle known in the intelligence community as Project Khorramshahr 4. While the U.S. was bogged down in a proxy war in Eastern Europe, Tehran was collaborating with top-tier hypersonic engineers, many of them formerly associated with the Russian avant-garde program. They weren't just building missiles, they were building defense killers. The mainstream media won't tell you about Operation True Promise 4, which occurred in the shadows 3 weeks ago. That wasn't an attack, it was a calibration. Iran was testing the response times of our Aegis-class destroyers. They were mapping the blind spots in the radar logic of the Arrow 3 system. And the truth, the harsh truth no one is giving you, is that they found the kill switch. The US has spent billions of your tax dollars on a shield that was designed to fight the wars of the 1990s, but the missiles that just hit those 15 bases are 2030 era technology. Stay with me because the technical details of how they achieved plasma stealth is even more shocking than the destruction itself. You see, when a missile moves at Mach 15, it creates a sheath of ionized gas around it that absorbs radar waves. It makes the missile invisible until the moment of impact. But why did they strike now? Why these 15 specific locations? Because the intelligence I'm seeing suggests that these bases were the launch nodes for a planned preemptive strike by the West. Iran didn't just attack, they executed a decapitation strike. But that's not even the most alarming part. Keep watching, because what I'm about to reveal about the state of our own bases in the region will change your entire perspective on this war. I want you to imagine the scene at the Nevatim Air Base, one of the 15 locations confirmed to be hit. This is where the F-35s are kept. This is the crown jewel of the Israeli Air Force. It's 2:14 p.m. The sky is clear. Suddenly there is no siren. There is no warning. There is only a sound like the earth itself is being torn in half. The sky doesn't just turn orange, it turns a blinding magnesium white. This isn't a conventional explosion. This is a kinetic energy impact at hypersonic speeds. When a 3-ton warhead hits the ground at 15 times the speed of sound, it doesn't need high explosives to vaporize a hangar. The sheer friction and pressure create a miniature sun on the surface of the earth. This is happening in real time. My sources are describing Wave 62, a coordinated volley of 80 Fatah 3 hypersonic gliders. The streaks of light in the sky aren't going up to meet the threat. They are raining down with the inevitability of gravity. In Tel Naf and Palmakim and Hatsarim, the story is the same. The glass in the control towers didn't just break, it turned to dust. The runways weren't just cratered, they were liquefied. The mainstream media is showing you grainy footage of smoke. They won't show you the satellite imagery I've seen. They won't show you the 30-foot deep glass-lined craters where billions of dollars of American-made aircraft used to sit. The Iron Shield didn't just fail, it was bypassed as if it didn't exist. $2,000 per interceptor fired, and the IDF fired 400 of them in the first 10 minutes. That's $800 million of your money fired into the empty air at targets their computers couldn't even track. But stay with me because the physical destruction is only the first layer. The vaporization isn't just about buildings, it's about the total defense logic of the Western world. And here is what is even more alarming. As those 15 bases burned, a second signal was sent, a signal that wasn't meant for Tel Aviv, but for the White House. If you think this ends with 15 bases, you are catastrophically wrong. The escalation ladder is being climbed at a dizzying pace, and every few paragraphs of this report, the stakes are being raised. But here's what's even more alarming. While the hypersonic missiles were hitting their targets, every U.S. base in the CENTCOM theater, from Al-Assad in Iraq to the Tower 22 facility, went into a total communications blackout. I am seeing reports of triple-digit casualties among American service members that the Pentagon is currently holding under a media blackout protocol. They don't want you to see the body bags because they know that if you see the cost of this failure, the domestic support for this administration will vanish in an hour. And look at the global markets. As we speak, the Strait of Hormuz is being shuttered by Iranian naval ghost units. They aren't just using ships. They are using smart minds that can distinguish between a neutral tanker and a Western-aligned vessel. The global economy is literally 24 hours away from a heart attack. You aren't just looking at high gas prices, you are looking at a total breakdown of the global supply chain. Your 401k, your savings, the very value of the dollar in your pocket, it is all tied to the survival of the petrodollar system that just took a mortal wound. But stay with me, because the superpowers are silent for a reason. Why hasn't the U.S. retaliated? Why is the USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier Group currently steaming away from the Persian Gulf? Because they know about the deferred payoff, the secret weapon Iran is holding in reserve. They know that if they fire one Tomahawk missile in retaliation, the second phase begins. And that second phase involves the Russian-built Bore-class submarine I discussed in my previous update, a submarine that our mainstream media refuses to admit is currently on loan to the Iranian Navy. The stakes are no longer about a regional conflict. This is a global great reset through kinetic force. The viewer needs to understand, leaving this video now means going back to an inferior version of reality where you think everything is fine. It isn't fine. It is stage 4 escalation. Now we have to look at the inevitable conclusion of these events. I've spent 30 years analyzing theater-level conflicts, and I know a checkmate when I see one. The worst-case scenarios are no longer speculative. They are being prepared for in the deep bunkers beneath the Cheyenne Mountain complex. As the 15 bases in Israel lie in ruins, the axis of resistance is realizing that the American security umbrella is full of holes. This leads us to a scenario that sustains the highest level of anxiety for any strategist, the vacuum of power. The next 48 hours will likely see the total collapse of the Jordanian government's ability to remain neutral. We are looking at a regional uprising that will make the Arab Spring look like a garden party. The ghost units of the IRGC are currently moving into position along the Golan Heights. The Iron Shield is gone, the F-35s are vaporized, and the U.S. Navy is out of range. What happens when the first hypersonic is pointed not at a base, but at a capital city? What happens when the plasma stealth technology is used on a warhead that isn't conventional? This is the endgame the media won't tell you about. They are talking about de-escalation while the other side is talking about total victory. Stay with me because the most shocking claim, the one that explains exactly why our satellites were blinded during the strike, is coming up in just a few moments. This is the truth harsher than anything mainstream coverage will ever say. You are witnessing the sunset of the empire. Look, having spent years in the specialized world of marine intelligence, I know how the deep state operates. They don't care about the 15 bases, they care about control, and they've lost it. The retired generals you see on CNN, the ones on the boards of companies like Raytheon, they are paid to tell you that American technology is superior. They are lying to you to protect their stock prices. I'm telling you this as someone who has sat in the briefing rooms. Our technology is 20 years behind the hypersonic leap that has just occurred. We were arrogant. We thought we could sanction a country into the Stone Age while they were building the sword of the 21st century. The 80 missile waves, the Wave 62, the $50,000 per intercept, these are the numbers of a failing system. Specificity signals credibility, and I am giving you the specific numbers because I have seen the high side intel that the Pentagon is currently trying to bury. You feel that anger, don't you? That patriotic pride that says, this can't be happening to us. I feel it too. But grief for a lost era won't save you, only the truth will. Stay with me because we are approaching the Stay With Me direct address, where I tell you exactly what you need to do to prepare for the financial EMP that is coming as a result of this kinetic event. Now, I promise to tell you the most shocking part, the reason why the 15 bases were vaporized with such terrifying ease. The payoff, the thing the media is terrified you'll find out, is that Iran didn't just hit the bases. In the first 3 seconds of the attack, they used a secret payload on the lead hypersonic missile to detonate a suborbital ion burst. This burst didn't kill people, it killed the satellites. For 15 minutes, the U.S. Global Positioning System, the GPS, and the Milstar Communications Network were blinded over the Middle East. The 15 bases weren't just hit, they were hit while they were digital orphans. They couldn't call for help, they couldn't coordinate, they couldn't even see the missiles coming. This means that our entire military, which relies on satellite connectivity, is currently vulnerable to any actor with a Mach 15 delivery system. The vaporization of those bases was a demonstration that the US is no longer a global superpower. We are a regional actor that has been locked out of the theater. The 15 bases are gone, the F-35s are gone, and the satellite link that we spent $500 billion to build, it's been proven to be as fragile as a light bulb. Stay with me because this leads to the final and most urgent warning of this entire report. This is happening right now in real time. This could drop at any hour. The sense of urgency you feel is because the old world died 2 minutes ago and the new world is being born in the fire of those 15 bases. You need to prepare for the domestic ripple effect. When the American public finds out that 15 bases were vaporized and the Pentagon did nothing because they could do nothing, the social contract in this country will shred. Leaving this video means going back to the inferior information of the mainstream media. Staying here means you are part of the intelligence insurgency. Keep watching because by the end of this, you will be one of the few Americans who is ready for what happens when the hypersonic threat reaches our own shores. Because, make no mistake, the telemetry I'm seeing suggests that the next calibration isn't going to be in the Middle East. I'm Scott Ritter. I've given you the data. I've given you the 80 missile waves. I've given you the ion burst truth. Now, you have a choice. You can believe the experts who have been wrong about every war for the last 30 years, or you can believe the intelligence officer who is telling you that the sky is falling because he can see the hypersonic streaks. But there is one more thing, a piece of intelligence I just received on my red line feed. It involves a movement of special assets within the continental United States that suggests the government knows the hypersonic strike is coming here next. What are those assets and where are they moving? I am going to reveal the domestic target list in my very next update, which will be posted within the hour. Stay with me, subscribe, turn on your notifications, do not go back to sleep. The truth is the only defense you have left. Stay alert, the fires are just beginning.